Today, I want to thank everybody for coming back and seeing me. But today, I want to talk about some engine stuff. We're going to talk about engines, boosted versus nitrous, parts, tuning, air, and some theory. What's going on, Henson? Henson knows a lot about this, but we kind of want to explain a little bit, why nitrous tuning is different than your, say, turbo tuning. The engines are different, not just the camshaft, how they're built and how they survive. We're going to talk about why some of them are using, the timing that they're using, and some are not. So, kind of go into that. So, to begin with, for the basics of people, there's 4 strokes to an engine. I always call it SSBB, suck, squish, bang, blow. So you've got intake charge. It's going to pull the charge in. You've got the squish or the compression. Squeeze it together. You've got a power stroke. When it fires it off, pushes the piston back down, and then it's going to come back up and push everything out the exhaust. Okay, so there's your 4 strokes. We'll call it suck, squish, bang, blow. Sounds dirty because I like it that way. So, let's talk about, that's going to be kind of your naturally aspirated style engine there. Suck, squish, bang, blow. It's going to be any of them, but we're going to start with like a naturally aspirated engine on there. So when it pulls your piston here to your connecting rod, okay, in the cylinder, when it comes down, it is pulling air in here, intake charge, okay, basic. Then it comes back up there to compress everything in here, okay, compression or squish, all right, pretty easy. We're going to go through all the basic stuff here real fast so we can get to the fun stuff of nitrous and boosted. Okay. Then you're going to have your spark plug go pow, all right, forcing it back down, okay. That's going to be your bang or your compression on there. Then since you have other pistons in there, or even in a single cylinder, it's going to come back around. It's going to then take all of this, force it out when it comes back up, okay. So there you go, 4 strokes. Now let's get into the fun part of this. So, get rid of all of that. Let's talk about a nitrous engine. Nitrous engines. I like nitrous engines. Jamie Hancock is in here. He likes nitrous engines. Nitrous is cool. All right. It's been used for a long time. They started using it in airplanes, in wars, everything like that. We don't need to go into all the history there. But, so, you have your piston with your rings. You don't want to eat those up. Piston there. Now, on your nitrous engine, oh yes, in the cylinder, it's going to have a force, all right, coming in on the intake charge. So when the intake is pulling that in, there's force here. Going to be this connecting rod here is going to actually be pulling the piston down. Okay, there's an actual force of it pulling it down to pull the intake charge in. Then there's a force change. When it comes back up, it is going to push back up. All right, that force change is all done in this connecting rod. Whether it's up in the wrist pin, taking most of the blow, whether it's in the bearing, whether it's in the rod itself, whether it's in the small end of the rod, the big end of the rod, all of that pressure in that force change is coming back up. Now it goes bang. Okay, so it's come back up, it's come in, we've gone bang, now it's coming back down. You still have all that pressure on there, pushing it back down. Now when it comes back up, it's going to push on that. You still have all of that pressure pushing on there. So 3 out of the 4 strokes on a nitrous or naturally aspirated engine, right here, there is force trying to squish everything together. Everything's pushing it down, pushing it down. That's where you're making a bunch of power, and there's a lot of force there. But then 1 out of the 4 strokes, so 25% of the time, on that intake charge, the force changes and it tries to rip it back apart. On a boosted engine, this does not happen. So when I was saying on here, we're going to talk about some parts, tuning, air, and theory. Here is where we're going to talk about the air coming in. All right, we're going to talk a little more there. The tuning we'll get to. The parts is what we're talking about here. The parts on here is where we have seen breakage a lot right here on a nitrous application. The reason being is you have that change of force. Now on a boosted application, when it comes in on the intake stroke, let's take we're going to draw 4 of these, all right? Intake, compression, power, exhaust. Okay, so we'll call this one turbo. When the intake charge is coming in, right here, it's being forced in. It's continually having pressure on the connecting rod, on the crankshaft, on the piston, everything, the entire time. It doesn't have time ever to change force. That's why turbo engines, you see people with, say, a stock bottom end LS engine. They're able to put a bunch of boost to these and they survive versus putting a bunch of nitrous to it and it survives. That connecting rod is not meant to have that force change at high cylinder pressures. But if it doesn't have that force change, it's able to survive longer. So on a boosted engine, force down, intake. Compression, where it's coming back up. The force is with you. No, the force is always down on there. Okay, always pushing down on the piston there. On the power stroke, okay, when it's pushing down, the spark plug goes bang. There, it's pushing down. All right, and as it's coming back up, it's pushing all of that exhaust out. So force on a turbo engine always down on there. It's not trying to rip the connecting rod apart. Okay, so that's been fun. That's kind of your difference there. The force is strong with this one. Very good, Joseph Bezos. So that's kind of your basics that we're going to talk about in the theory and parts. Now let's get to the tuning side of it. Everybody hears timing. What is timing? Everybody says put more timing to it. Are you actually adding more timing? Bum, bum, bum. No. The answer is no. You're not adding any more timing ever. You're not taking timing away. It's a term that's used, but it's not an actual correct term, but everybody uses it. You didn't add anything to it. You didn't make more of it. You didn't take less of it away. So you have 360 degrees on your crankshaft. So 0, 360. All right. So yeah, so your cheap equal parts want a turbo, Brian. Brian, no, you need to stay with nitrous. That little small block is doing amazing on there. So we always hear timing in a degree. So say 36 degrees. That is that's in crankshaft degrees when the piston is firing. So your piston's coming here, connected down here. We'll say it goes right to the crankshaft. Okay. 36 degrees before top dead center. So that means if it's up here, we're going to call this 36 degrees, is when the actual spark plug is firing. Fires here at 36 when it's here. So if they say add more timing to it, means they're having it fire when it's farther down in here. Okay, the timing, you haven't added any more timing here. It's the same amount of spark that you're there. You're just changing the position of when it's firing, and they use the term more and less on there. You've given it more crankshaft degrees, I guess, but that's always had those crankshaft degrees. So it's just one of those weird terms that everybody uses that it is okay, but it really doesn't make any sense. So 36 degrees, say 39 degrees there, okay? Means it's happening sooner. Not every engine likes the same amount of timing. A big block or small block Chevrolet, a lot of times in their factory state, like anywhere between 32 and 38 degrees. If you put 36 degrees to an LS engine, the thing's going to knock its face off. The more efficient an engine is, the less timing it wants on there, because it can actually get everything in, out, and it's making the cylinder pressure that it wants. So now let's get to the tuning portion of nitrous and turbo. This is where everybody's kind of saying they want to see stuff. So nitrous oxide, two parts nitrogen, 1 part oxygen. Now, the standard air on average that you breathe, you're breathing, you're out at the track, anything there, maybe unless you're in LA. LA's air is horrible. California sucks, so doesn't matter there. It's the standard air that you have has 20% oxygen in it. Everything else has nitrogen in it, and it's got a bunch of other carbon dioxide. It's got everything in there. But the air you breathe is on average 20% oxygen, and that's what we're trying to burn inside the engine. Paul Sherman, what about flame travel in relationship to dome height? Paul Sherman, that I could talk a long time on flame travel, and I'm trying to cover a whole bunch here, but we can definitely make another one talking about flame travel, and we could probably talk for about a half hour to an hour about flame travel. What Paul's talking about is the flame travel when you have a dome piston and the spark plug's over here, and it has to work up and over it. So we could talk about that another time of how to combat that, how to make it better, things like that. But anyways, so air. 20% O2. That's it. You're trying to run an entire engine off of how much oxygen you can burn, and the oxygen in air only is 20%. So if we can add more oxygen to that air via nitrous oxide, you are going to increase the cylinder pressure. Now that's where everything is made, is the pressure on the compression stroke where it squeezes everything together. That is where power is being made. You're making torque, you're making everything there. Nitrous oxide, so if it's 2 parts nitrogen, 1 part oxygen, that gives you 33% oxygen. That's basic math there. There's 3 molecules. One of them is oxygen, the other one is not. There you go. If you need help with the math, send me a message. I can walk you through it. I don't use Common Core. So now, with that 33% and your 20%, makes 50%, right? No, because it averages out. But you're going to be seeing in that 28%, what is nitrous? Scott Lorenzen, it's what makes you fast. That's why you got rid of it. Anyways, so you're going to see in that like 28, 25% range of oxygen levels in there. Now you have to have fuel to be able to burn it, so that's why you have two jets, or on a dry system, you'll be putting fuel in with the injectors. If you have multiple kits, things like that. Now, when when you get to um, your Power Stroke, the bang on there, not your Power Stroke diesel. We don't care about those. Okay, when you get to the bang, everything, since there's more oxygen in here, a higher oxygen content, not just more air, content, it is going to burn much, much faster on there. Your cylinder pressure is going to raise up very, very quick. And because of that, you need to take the timing down. That's why on nitrous, you always hear people saying that they're running 10 degrees of timing out the back. That means that they've added so much nitrous on there that they're pulling their timing from, say, 32 degrees down to 10. They've taken 22 degrees of timing out of it. But with the increased oxygen levels that are in there, it's burning so fast and creating such a big cylinder pressure very, very quickly, it doesn't need that timing. If you do put that timing in there, you're going to have a lot of cylinder pressure, and then that's when you start eating pistons, torching heads, things like that on there. So that's going to be the basics of your why nitrous timing is. So when you're talking about the tuning portion of it, if say we're going to go to the basics, you have 100 pill in there. Okay, people like to use that on the street, whatever. You got 100 pill in it. It's going to increase the cylinder pressure a little bit because you're not putting that much more in. You haven't averaged it out. You're still having this much air from your engine. You're only putting in this much oxygen from the nitrous oxide. So you haven't taken that average from 20% and 33% averaging it. You haven't brought it there. You're adding 33% oxygen, but not very much volume of this 33%. So you're bringing this average from 20% maybe to 21, 22%. Now, when you're talking on, say, like our car, I'm not going to tell you what jets we have in it, but it's a lot. So you're taking 632 cubic inches, and then you're putting in a lot of nitrous. So now you're taking that average and you're bringing it up. You can actually bring that average past the average of this and closer to the 33%, where it's mainly running on more nitrous and fuel coming from here than the air and the carburetors. Are you giving us homework for a quiz? Yes, there is. That's funny. So when you see the big flames, explain jet size to horsepower. I can do that a little bit, Trent Larson, but it goes a little bit bigger than that. But I can touch on it here in just a sec. So when you see the big flames on the nitrous cars and everything, it's because they've pulled so much timing that when it fires off, all of, let's go here. We'll do an engine, really basic engine, and we've got headers. We're giving it bull horns. There we go. It's got bull horns. One sec. Bull horn. Okay. He runs 28 jets for those wondering. Yeah, Higgins knows. Yep, it's just a 28 jet, just a little guy, no big deal. It's only one of them. I run a plate. I'm not that cool. Amanda Corey, how's it going, Amanda? So, right here, when you see the flames coming out, flames, awesome, cool. It's because that they've pulled the timing down so far that when it's coming up here, your piston's coming up like this, and it's firing, it is actually burning the fuel and the rest of the charge out here and coming out. All of the flame that would normally get caught, probably right here on your header, like that, all of that's happening there, since it's happening so late, you've already made your peak cylinder pressure from it going bang right there. It's gone bang, and now it still has that little bit there, and it's pushing the rest out. So the flame is actually from the low timing. Some people know that, some people don't. Now everybody in here knows it. Welcome to the club. All right. Everybody kind of understand this? If not, watch it again. There will be a test. There's not going to be a test. But that is kind of your basics of the how everything works for nitrous, the basic tuning, everything there. Let's talk about turbos. We've already talked about why turbo engines can kind of survive a little bit longer, things like that, or you could run the same parts in a turbo engine and a nitrous engine, and the turbo engine may last a little bit longer. Let's see some of the comments. Morning, Al. Apparently my father joined in. Hi, Dad. He's actually in the other room. Higgins, I thought you were retiring. So if there is flame, I'm fast. Not necessarily, Scott. If there's flame, it doesn't mean you're fast. I've made the mistake before. I think Justin Higgins, who's in here, has made the mistake. Actually, I did it against Justin Higgins in the race. The only time we've ever raced each other, and Justin can tell you who won that one. So, I did not have my nitrous activate, but the timing still activated. So I was pulling all of my timing with no nitrous going in on there. And since everything's happening so late, no nitrous is going in there. It's not going to be fast. But since it's happening so late, all the flames are still coming out the exhaust, and it looks cool. It sounds like crap, and it's not fast at all. So just because there's flames coming out does not mean it's fast. There's also the internet tuners out there that look at the flames on the car and go, oh, well, it's a blue flame. That means he's pretty close on his tune. It's an orange flame. It's got to be here. Or the people who go, oh, well, the flames came out right away, so he's spraying nitrous right away, or this or that. Or the flames didn't come out until he was past the 60 foot. There's no, I'm telling you right now, absolutely no way for you to look at a video and go, oh, yeah, that's what his tune-up is. Yep. But if you look to the 60 foot, he's not even spraying until the 60 foot there because flames didn't come on. Well, maybe, just maybe, they're not pulling the timing right away. Weird. So, yes, Justin Higgins, your nitrous worked on our race, but you kicked the tires 3 times and I still beat you with a 6:12 pass. So there, love you, buddy. Anyways, so when you look at a car on YouTube, anything like that, green Mike Moran, green flame bad, absolutely. When you look at them and you go, oh, it's got an orange flame, it's got a blue flame, they're not even spraying nitrous off of the line because the flames didn't come on. Just because the flames aren't on doesn't mean they're not spraying nitrous. It just means maybe they haven't pulled enough timing for the flame to come out. I can tell you this, I'm not going to give you numbers, but when I make a pass, there's a good little bit of time there off of the button that there's no timing's pulled. So just keep that in mind. Don't rip stuff off of what I say, but yeah. So what does the flame color mean? No wonder why Higgins retired. So, general. We're gonna go general here, Trevor. Blue flame. Okay. Blue flames on there. It's hot. All right. But it's safe. We're going to ish. Safe-ish. Because when you start getting into big amounts, you can't really say perfectly safe, perfectly not. Orange. Yellow. What do you call that? Pushing limits. All right, you're not to the point where it's bad on there, but you're definitely pushing the limits on there. Now here's the fun one. When you go from that blue to that orange, you're getting there. You're starting to push the limits on there. but there's no in between. Mike Moran had talked about green flame. Okay, that's a piston. All right, that means you're burning aluminum. All right, so uh, that's what we call bad. And usually, when you start seeing green flames, you also you can also get that from burning the copper gaskets as well if you have copper head gaskets. But usually, when you see green flames, you also see Roman candles coming out too. So that's no good. My wife is calling me. Hopefully, she sees me on here. Honey, I'll call you back. So that's bad. Okay, turbo stuff. Sorry, we've been lollygagging here. On a turbo application, even on a supercharged application, you will hear them saying, they pulled timing and put the timing back in. On, say like 10 pounds of boost, small block Chev stuff, big block Chev things there. They'll run. Heard you were gonna be calling me out, and I didn't want to say no and look like a puss. Things changed keeping car. Okay, I don't know what's going on with over there. Yes, turbos. You need to know. Okay, so sorry, all these comments are getting me. Oh, there's my wife. So the turbo tuning on there. The turbos they're just compressing the air. They are not adding any higher levels of oxygen. Okay, so since it does not have a turbo, my wife just showed up with our puppy. So, since it's going to compress and pull in and make a charge, it's not making any denser, or I shouldn't say dense. It's not making any higher oxygen levels in there. It's just taking the 20% that you have here, and it's going, okay, take this 20% and then this 20% and 20% of all of this. It's still the same 20%, and it's just compressing it down to this, shoving it in the engine. Does that make sense? I'm going to go with yes, since I know you guys are like 10 seconds behind on here. So, so it's compressing that, so it's still 20%. So yes, you're going to have a higher cylinder pressure. It's going to burn a little bit faster because of that pressure, but it does not have that higher oxygen content. And with that, since it still has the same oxygen content on there, it can still use a higher amount of timing. Say if you watch if you go onto YouTube, don't go right now because you're hanging out with me, but go on YouTube, watch Stevie Fast Jackson. Chad Kelly, you're talking about gas or alcohol turbo application because they are different. Yes, they are. I'm just talking about in generalities here. I can't go into every specific deal on there, but so since it has it has that. Sorry, I gotta stop reading comments. You guys are messing me up. If I don't see a puppy by the end of this video, my disappointment will be immeasurable. All right. So since it's squishing it all down, everything like that, it's pushing it up in there. It doesn't have a higher oxygen content. Let's go. Has to be your combustion chamber. Cylinder. Piston. It's a Hemi. So go on YouTube. Check out Stevie Fast on there. That's what I was saying. He's got a video talking about some timing on there. You'll see that how he kind of tunes with their timing. It's a little bit different than what we do, but anyways, brings it out, he drops it up, and then he brings it all back in. So you'll see if they have 34 degrees of timing when they go on the trans brake, they'll let off the button, they pull some out to control tire speed, and then it puts it back in, and they'll go down the track at 32 to that's an alcohol engine, so 32, 34 degrees of timing, maybe down to 30 depending on what it is. So, sorry, I've got people in the other room that are talking. I'm listening to that conversation as well. I keep getting sidetracked. Since it doesn't have the higher alcohol content or oxygen content, it can burn here. So they can still spark it at 28 degrees and it will still live. It's not going to knock its face off because it doesn't have the higher oxygen content. It has more air in there, and that's how they're making the power. Screw you, Justin. You can see you can see Greg's ADD kick in while talking and reading comments. This is great. I can shut the comments off on here. So, anyways, so since it's forcing more air in there, that's how they're getting their cylinder pressure. It's squeezing everything together, making the cylinder pressure there. Versus the nitrous was adding more oxygen to get the cylinder pressure to come up quicker and burn faster. This is kind of your basics of how they're each working on there. So Scott Lorenzen, how you said you wanted to learn the turbo stuff on here. I'm not talking about how to power manage with the turbo car. I'm talking more of the basics of how they're living and how they're kind of tuning on that. Let's see. What else are we going to talk about? Parts, tuning, air theory. That's most of it. Let's go into this on the racing side of it. So 660 start, 330, 60 foot. Okay, on your just don't want to blow up on the first hit. Well, Scott, pull some extra timing out of there. You already put yours on the dyno, I believe, Scott, and you already know what it's like for timing, so you're going to be okay. When you turn the boost up, you can play with that on there. For the tuning portion, this can go in here perfect on there. When people have a new car and they're trying to figure it out on there, with the timing, pull timing. If you pull more timing on there, it's usually, I'm not going to say always, but usually going to be a little bit safer. If you pull the timing, then you can put it back in. So that way you can make the pass and you'll be okay on there. Now, how do you know if you're making the best power or a fit of it or anything like that? You will see ET, mile per hour. Best thing I can say, pull timing, and then slowly put it back in and watch your ET, not up, go down. If you're hooking up or anything like that, ET is going to go down. Mile per hour should go up. Add the timing until the mile per hour stops going up. And that's going to be your where your safe zone is. No, I'm not making a Stevie fast to add dingleberry gates, all of that here. No, we're not doing that. So, oh, my dog is in here. So that is going to be, Scott, to make it live. So if you're going to say, it makes X amount of power at 30 degrees of timing and 10 pounds of boost, and you're going, I want to run 14 pounds of boost. Well, obviously you don't want to run the same timing because you could detonate it and knock its face off. So pull that extra timing, pull 2 or 3 degrees of timing on there, make your pass. Did the ET go up? Okay, well then let's add half a degree of timing back to it. Let's add another half to it and make that pass like that while you're testing, and you'll see the ET drop and the mile an hour come up. If you start adding timing and the ET stays the same, but the mile an hour went down and all your incrementals are the same on there, then that's when you know that you're on the edge, you're starting to detonate, everything's wrong there, then pull that timing back down. That's how you'll be able to keep that safe. Same thing that we do in a nitrous car. If I jet up and say I go from my 28 jet to my 32 jet on there, we will pull the timing that we, theoretically know it should need out of there, and then just a little more. We'll make a pass, see where the mile an hour is, then I'll add maybe half a degree back, make that same pass on there, and did the mile an hour come up? Did the ET come up or go down on the ET? That's how you'll see for the tuning side how everything works on there. Justin says on here pan vac. Yes, on a nitrous car you can watch your pan vac, which is your oil pan vacuum from your vacuum pump on there. You'll see the pan vac will start to flutter on there just a little bit when you're getting really aggressive on the timing. And as long as you're going half degrees, you'll be okay with that little bit of ring flutter on the one pass on there. And that means you're basically starting to detonate it. You're getting real close, and the rings are starting to lose a seal. The pan vac will come down, and that's how you know you're on the edge there. The basic way, if you don't have pan vac, you don't have data logger, you don't have all of that, is going to be very, very slowly watch your ET, watch your mile an hour on there, and then add, and then bring it back down. Then you know how you're going to be pretty safe on your tune. We can cover reading air and such later. If it's like I'm speaking Chinese. Nah, not yet, Chris Barrett. You have to watch it from the beginning. But that's going to be your basics on how to do it. I always say run if you have any way to run a data logger of any kind, whether you're running a grid and you can hook up the data logging on the grid, do it. Anything you can run on there, any data is going to be good, whether it's just drive shaft data, anything like that. But when it comes to like reading the air, that's going to be a big one as well. So, okay. So from the start to the 60, 330, 660. No, it's not a Stevie Fast video. I'm not doing that. He probably has copyright infringements and all of that on there. So for nitrous guys, we want to have all of our nitrous in by the 60 foot. If you're adding it out here, just before the 330, just after the 330, that means you're either on a really crappy track, but usually even on no preps, I have it all in by the 60 foot or just after. If you're still adding your nitrous out here, you're on a very safe ramp. You're taking it out. And if you can't get it in sooner than that, your chassis is off. Your chassis is off, or your chassis is off. You need to go back, watch our first video that I did, not first, but the one I did 2 weeks ago about shock settings. Call up AFCO, order a good set of shocks, and then go out there and get all of it in by the 60 foot. Now on a turbo car, if they could have all of their boost in by the 60 foot, that'd be great. But since they have the capability of adding more power with more boost, that's why you will see the mile per hour a lot different than a nitrous car, because they can launch here. We'll say they're launching on 8 pounds. That's 8 pounds, not 8 hashtag. Okay, it's still pound. But by the 60 foot, they may be say they doubled it. They're at 16 pounds. Okay, now they're getting after it, but they still have a lot left to go. By the 330, they may be up to 25 pounds. And that's where they end up going out the back doors at 25 pounds. Okay, so that's why, since they're still building all of this power all the way throughout on there, they kind of have more of a curve like this for their power, versus a nitrous car has it straight up. What, only 25 soft? Yeah, only 25, Trevor. We're talking about it's stock bottoming. So whenever you're seeing at a racetrack anything there, you see the big flames coming out of one car, out of the nitrous car, and not the turbo car. That's because usually the nitrous car has a bunch of timing pulled out, where the turbo car doesn't. But the turbo car is adding boost all the way down on there, and they're going to be pulling a little bit of timing, a little bit, as they go down, as it increases the boost. But they still get to have a higher deal on there. You'll see not all the time. Turbo cars can 60 foot, but usually you'll see a nitrous car 60 foot much quicker and more aggressively than the turbo car. That's because they're trying to get all the power in because they only have so much. They only have what the jets are. Get them into right here. Okay. Where the turbo car, they launch with some power, they put some power in, and then they crank it up and go at the back. That's just two different ways of making the power. So, all right. I think that is it. If there's any questions, I can hang out here for just a little bit. Somebody said they wanted to see a puppy. Brodix, this is my puppy. For those who haven't seen, his name is Brodix. Hey, Brod, come here. Brodix. There he is. He's being a little shy. Oh, he hears Grandpa over there?
Brodix, come here.
Okay. But if there's any, looking forward to seeing the new car. Thanks, Rob. Oh, he's running into stuff. Brodix, come here. Hey, come on. I got a treat for you. Hey, Brod. Hey. Come here. So that's my puppy. His name is Brodix. He's full of energy. Arr. There he goes. He didn't even take the entire treat. He chewed some of it off. Oh, coming back for more, huh, bud? There you go. We'll see you later. So, Paul Randall, no blower cars, tips or tricks. You already know him. I'll get you on here. You can tell me him. What else we have? You don't like you, Trevor. The dog likes me. He fears me. So appreciate the knowledge, not a problem. If you have any questions, like I said, feel free to send me a message. I'll answer them. If you're looking for some tuning stuff, and you're in the Minnesota area, we have a chassis dyno here at Paradigm. We can help you out. We can do some tuning. You can rent the dyno from us. You can go on there and do your own tuning and figure it out. Bubba told me big block Chevy don't even wake up till they get to 50 pounds of boost on them. Troy, Bubba is me on there. It all depends on, there's a lot on there if they wake up at 50 pounds or not. Because there's guys that run 20 pounds on a big block Chevy and goes crazy fast as well. So your turbo sizing is going to make a big difference. Your camshaft on there, what heads you have, everything like that, all going to make, it starts coming in. You start making really good power at 4 pounds or 40 pounds. There's a big difference, just like on a nitrous car. So on a nitrous car, we will play around with camshafts a whole bunch. I haven't done as much now. We've got it kind of close. But if I'm going to testing nitrous on a chassis dyno, thoughts? Brian Gadecki, depends on how much nitrous. And excuse me, I would very highly recommend that it is a load-bearing dyno, because if you don't have a load-bearing dyno to test your nitrous on, and you go to the street or to the track or anything on there, if you just do it on a inertia-style dyno, it's going to be way off. It's going to be much, much different on there. Your tune it's going to try to lug it down more and most likely detonate because you're going to have too much timing on there. Sorry, I went off on a deal there. I was talking about camshafts on nitrous engines. So if you have a nitrous engine that's going to run, say, we'll just say for ease of everybody here, for a 300 pill. All right, you're really not going to go over 300 ever, or it's a class limited deal on there where you have to run a 300. Or we'll use Outlaw 632. They use a 400 pill on there. They use a 36 jet. So on a 36 jet, your camshaft profile is going to be much, much different than it is going to be on something, say, that you're going to run 800 on. Just because the lobe separation is going to be a little bit different on there. You're going to have to make sure your quench is different. All of that's going to be different. When you have something that's like ours, where where you're spraying bigger amounts, up in that, 650, 700, 800, 850 range that you're spraying on there. They'll say, you'll hear people go all the time, it really doesn't start to wake up until you have a 42 jet on it, which is like 500 horse. It really doesn't even wake up till you get to 500 horse. Well, that's because of the camshaft design. If you put a different camshaft in there, it may wake up on 250, and that 500, it may be done. You may start detonating the crap out of it because it's not able to get the exhaust out of there quick enough. So, camshaft design on turbo cars and on a nitrous car, very, very big. For when the power's coming in, how much you're running. You can't just say, "Oh, it's turbo cam. I'm going to go run 60 pounds on it." Doesn't work that way. Or you can't be like, "Oh yeah, Mark Mickey uses the same camshaft design, and he went, 360s at 221 miles an hour. This will be the same. I'm going to use that same design and put it in my stock bottom end LS." It's completely different because you're not going to run 60 pounds on there. Camshaft design does come into play for how much boost you're going to run or how much nitrous you're going to run and where you want the power to be made. And a lot of times where you want the power to be made for a turbo car is going to also affect the turbo size. So anyways, there we go. We talked a lot about the engines and how everything kind of works, some of the tuning stuff, all of the funness on there. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to send a message. You can send it to me on my personal page for Greg Schmidt. Otherwise, send it to our race page, Bad Influence, or Paradigm Automotive. You can also send it there. We can answer some questions, get you parts, or set up on a dyno session. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great weekend. Get your cars done. Race season is around the corner.